now. It's an early Sunday morning, and that's a kind of rare, quiet moment outside. I'm a bit tired because I didn't get enough sleep, obviously. But I have to record video, otherwise I don't have much more opportunities for quiet around the place where I am. So anyway, I tried to record a little bit closer to have a better voice, and today's topic is I wrote down a little bit not to think too long during talk. I will tell a couple of stories to continue a strange happening, strange things I noticed, which I told on last video, and also I tell a little bit about the tests which I did myself to mess with people's mind, to see what happens when I was really young. And in the end I tried to provide a couple of explanations, because I always tried to find realistic explanations to these happenings, and I will try to explain a little bit with physics what I know of what can be the case, including quantum physics, some theories which could explain why human mind has power over the matter and see future and different kind of phenomena. But before I do that, I must make some coffee, and when I take an hour or maybe even two of time to talk. And this time I record with two smartphones because they are good enough. I recorded with external audio source last time, but I didn't publish it because it picked up too much of it. Was too good. I mean, picking up every little sound around, and I don't have any soundproofed room for that kind of recorder. So phone did quite a good job, and I'm recording with two phones right now, exactly the same type of phone, just in case if I click wrong button or I delete accidentally, so I have some backup. And the video camera as well, which I recorded with last time, it was pretty crappy. I mean, phones these days, for at least close-up shooting on controlled light environment, are pretty good. So that's what I will do, but I'll put for a pause for now, and I'll be back with a cup of coffee later. Alright, both phones are recording, and I'm back with a cup of coffee, which I can't drink yet. I just don't want to waste time. I can't drink because it's too hot. I'm not allowed to drink because I lost 2 wisdom teeth. It was surgery, and for 2 weeks I'm not allowed to drink anything too hot. So hopefully I haven't lost my wisdom because of teeth. But getting to a point, actually the coffee, I'm drinking original coffee, but I wrote a recipe on my blog, so you can find it. I will add a honey to that. It's a coffee with chocolate powder and with dry milk and honey. So it's pretty good, even when it's cooled down. It's good. So, not to waste time, I triple check. As old programmer, I do always too many checks to make sure everything works. Anyway, so on my list, which I wrote down, strange things which I didn't mention last time. In my dreams, when I was really young, once I saw, it was like 40 years ago, I was still maybe, no, not 10, 15, around 15 years old, and I saw one of my classmates in a dream with a small handheld TV. It was my neighbor, so a classmate and neighbor same time, so that's why I probably saw him on the dream. And there was the most intelligent guy in the class, a bit higher than me. I was second. I wasn't the best. So anyway, he held a small, maybe smaller than this phone cover thing in the hand, and like watching TV. And I was thinking, when I woke up, I was thinking that, hey, that's strange. I don't know how to build that, because everything was with tubes, the light tubes, and the flat technology didn't exist yet. And it seemed strange. That must be some kind of future, but I couldn't figure out how to build that. I was thinking, okay, maybe if you put the tube on the angle and reflect it from mirror, or somehow you can make it somewhat flat, but it was too small. Even the tubes didn't exist so small yet which generated the array for TV. So that was one strange thing which I saw, and I probably wrote down, but I burnt later the paper which I wrote down, because I think, okay, it's nice to write down to have a proof that if something in the future will happen, but probably I discarded it as an impossibility, just a mad dream. And I wasn't very much into writing down. Like now I'm a street artist. I little bit tell different things into a video as well to make it more interesting. I'm a street artist, and my way of doing is just to talk to people. I'm not making carrying a lot of stuff with me. I figured out the best way is to make people laugh, and when you just approach people as some kind of silly talk and silly questions which make them laugh, they give you coins better than if you just wait somewhere. And I wasted too much time just sitting around with my advertisements and promotion of my books, and people don't give money, they don't care. But if you approach each one personally and make them laugh, it works. So for me it works best. And when I was young, I remember I thought that, okay, some kind of funny moments which came to my mind or I saw, I should write them down. But later said, okay, I'm not gonna keep them anyway. Because I was never keeping any diaries, and even the blogs which I have now on WordPress, I had even before, and I deleted them, and I was just sharing information on ongoing politics and which people had to know. But later that came out way better, publishers of and agglomerators of this information. I mean, I don't know if agglomerate is the right word, but people who concentrated the right information on their website. So I deleted my website. I didn't continue them. So I'm not into diaries. Even the websites which I have now, if I find out that there are people who do things better than I do, I don't need to continue. I have better things to do with my life. I like to learn a lot. So second thing which was very strange, which I didn't mention last video. It was I was about 19 years old, and my father died. And reasons he died, I told them in my travel videos. But one day, shortly after his death, maybe a couple of months, I was walking on the street in my hometown when my father lived, and I saw him on the street. That was so strange. I saw him around maybe 50, 100 meters, about 50 meters maybe from distance. So I couldn't miss. It was him, but I saw him from the back, and when he turned to side road, I saw a little bit of the side of face. I said, no, that's my father. How it's possible? He's dead. And I make a very quick walk, not really a run fast, but quick walk, because there was nowhere to hide on that street. To get faster to approach him. And when I turned around the corner, he wasn't there. I was like, okay. Even if you run, I could still see him. So just to be sure, I walked even faster to see if he turned somewhere. There wasn't. It was too far, the next turn. And I didn't hear any doors opening and closing. So there weren't any doors very close to that corner. So disappeared. And later I thought, okay, I already learned by this time. I had learned a bit of psychology, and I knew that some things happening in the brain and some kind of flashbacks, and brain can make up things. So I discarded it as a flashback or wishful thinking or something in the brain, and that was strange. Anyway, so about my experiments on people's minds, which I did myself. And my father and mother were engineers, and especially father, he was electronics, the director of electronics development in a military factory. So he had at home kind of a lot of stuff electronic. He built at home a lot as well, a part of what he did at work. So I had some toys to play around myself. And I had some light tube, which was not regular light tube, which were bulbs, but a little bit longer and with concentrated beam, which worked on battery. And I built a tube to protect sideways reflection from a tube, just a carton, some paper. Made it really direct on one direction. And the funny thing, it was thread, glow thread, wolfram or some kind of other metal inside, and when it glowed, the bulb was concentrating the light in one direction, but even when you reflect it on the wall or something, it was shaped like a thread, and the two connection sides a little bit thinner. So if you showed it on the wall, even it was so strong, I could put it on another building like 20-30 meters away, or playground there. So it was like a UFO, kind of UFO. If you didn't mind, if you didn't know that it's exactly like the glow metal on the lamp, you could imagine that's a UFO. So which I did which I tried was to look down from a window on my apartment building where I lived. Open the summertime, you know, snow outside. It was asphalt on the street, and when people walked, I was behind the curtain, so if they looked up, they couldn't see me. So the tube behind the curtain. I was playing a man behind the curtain. I didn't know that notion yet, what it means now, but I was a man behind the curtain when I was 15. So I switched on the light exactly in front of the people when they were walking, and moved quickly the beam to side and then up to a building when they turned the head, and then quickly moved away, so we couldn't really realize what is that, and they played around with that. I don't remember the reaction of people. Some of them walked without stopping, some of them stopped, but I don't know what went on in their mind. But when later, when people told me, many years later, decades later, when I learned that there are some government experiments to play with people's mind with UFOs, I said, yeah, sure, I did it myself when I was 15 years old. And people complement missing information in the head, so we definitely, some of them definitely thought, oh, we saw a real UFO. So, next topic I wanted to talk to them. Why truth prevails? I wrote it down. It's not exactly to today's topic, but it's a very short point. It's, why truth will prevail in the world, the truth comes out, because it's just more economical for brain to tell the truth. And if you listen to Sergei Vyacheslavovich Savelyev, Sergei Savelyev, who is a Russian brain scientist, he will explain, and you will understand exactly how it functions, the brain. But the point is that the brain demands too much energy, and every time you stop thinking, the brain releases certain elements which make you happy. So that's just evolution makes you save energy, because the brain uses quarter of the entire body's energy when it's only 1/50th of the weight of a human. So it uses too much energy, and it's too dangerous to use too much. So we have evolved to save energy, and for that reason brain tries to shut down every time. So people who lie, they use up a lot of more energy in their brain, because they have to remember their lies. And when they try to, actually the point is clear, I don't have to repeat it. So when you tell the truth, it's just more economical for a brain, and most of people will tell the truth just for the same reason that we are evolved to do that. Anyway, so truth will come out. Truth will come out, and that's the biological reason for that, not some moral or some made-up philosophy. It's just physiology of human, why truth will prevail. And truth is necessary for survival if you live in a real environment of a danger. You need to share the truth between your camp, your friends, to survive each one. So now I'm getting to a topic of explaining with physics the strange happenings in the world, which people think it's impossible, and how, especially how brain, especially how brain is capable of changing, affecting matter, while brain is so small compared to the universe. But everything universe is a part of universe, and if universe has some mind, or make some calculations, so to say, which is the mind of universe. Calculations, physical processes. I call them calculations. So if his calculations, you are part of universe and you are part of a calculation. So if you change a little bit of your mind, so you will change the formulas of a universe. I mean, and if it affects some kind of processes which are related to your calculations, then of course it affects. It doesn't affect as much as universe itself can do. I mean, in a quantitative capacity, but you can affect, and the butterfly effect exists. You won't change everything immediately, but if you change a little bit, you nudge a little bit something. After some period of time, you can have some big effects on universe. But this is one explanation. Another explanation, possible explanation, is that we know from physics now already that only one cube centimeter of empty space, where it's no matter nothing, has enough energy available. It's just balanced on zero, but if you nudge it, you can get out of enough energy. If you use up all the energy in one cube centimeter of empty space, it's enough to build entire visible universe. I mean, all the matter what we see. Imagine that entire visible universe. To what we see so far, the entire visible universe is built on the matter that exists on universe, what we know of right now, which we can manifest with our tools, science tools. This energy is contained in 1 cubic centimeter of empty space, but you need to learn physics to understand it better if you don't know. So that's one explanation how, if we, with our brain, with even tiny part of this empty space energy, we can nudge it to get use of it. With our mind, it can affect very big things in universe. Another possibility, okay, that I told, entanglement, okay, which is about seeing the future. So there are theories like there is only one electron in the universe. Everything we see is just an illusion. That is a one electron hypothesis which exists. And because for light itself, for a photon, for example, the time doesn't exist. It's present in every single point at the same time. So even for you, it's an illusion that the light has some speed and moving somewhere. At the same time, you can affect immediately everything in the universe in certain points. But the question is only to which degree we are able to do that and to have information, because information is quite diluted. We are overcrowded. Our brain is overcrowded in information. It's hard to pick up the right information from right time period and right place and the right context. But it's possible. Physically, it's possible. There is no contradiction in physics that it's possible. Just the limits. There are certain limits to that. And if you train your brain, maybe you will be able to do that. And if universe helps you, if universe thinks that, okay, that part of my, universal brain, you are one part of the universal brain, so to say. So if the universe listens to that part of the brain, pays attention to that, maybe it will change for you what you need to know. So another explanation is many worlds interpretation. That's also very interesting, but that we exist actually in many worlds at the same time. So what you want to happen, it doesn't happen usually, but if you really want to, it may happen exactly in that universe which you stay. So everything what is possible physically will happen. And even about dying, that's very interesting. It's important note to make that you will never die. You will die only for others. That's a many world interpretation, because you will only remain alive in the universe where you won't die. In other universes, you would die in accident, but there is possibility that you won't die with accident. And for others who live in different universes, who continue living in spread up in split universes, for them you are dead. But for yourself, if you die, you won't know it, because you're gone. The mind is gone. Universe has your mind, but not you anymore, consciously. But if you will always remain alive, no matter even if you die for someone, or my friends, or someone else, wherever they die, they are all alive in some universe, still keep living. It's also an interesting theory, but it's based on physics. I mean, on quantum physics, and we have to agree with what mathematics tells us, even if it sounds or looks strange to us, not acceptable. I look if I can already start to drink coffee. It's still too hot to big cup, you know. As I'm a poor man, I usually find all these cups somewhere. Somebody puts them out for people to take stuff. In Paris, it happens very often, so I take them. I wash them many times to be sure there aren't any dangerous products inside, and I use them. Sometimes I buy stuff, but usually I find a lot of stuff on the streets in Paris. So it's a good place to live if you're poor. I mean, it's another story. I tell another video. Anyway, so simulation hypothesis is another theory that we live in simulation, and it's just statistical outcome of that. For example, if we wait a couple of thousands more years of our civilization, if we don't destroy ourselves, then we will be able to build computers which are capable of simulating ours and our past. And as the technology grows exponentially in a couple of thousand years, it's much cheaper to create simulated universes. There will be many millions or countless millions of more simulations than the real universe, possible universe, or even a simulated possible universe which replicates exactly our past. So it's just statistically more likely that we live in simulation than in the real world, because some civilization which are like us, maybe I was some day in a real civilization, a real universe, I mean a physical universe, which is much more unlikely to happen. And now we are recreated in a simulation. It's just statistically more plausible that we live in simulation. And as we live in simulation, and more likely not a real simulation, then a modified simulation gives us capabilities which are usually not possible on physics. So even though the simulation is almost 100% as it was a real universe for us to imagine, the more likely is that it's not 100%. It's some modification or some imperfect simulation which gives us a capacity to play with the universe. Well, with real physics, it wouldn't be possible. But as we know from the physics what we have discovered, there are mathematical and physical proofs which show mind over matter. And maybe it's just an artifact of a simulation, but that's one explanation of why mind over matter effects exist. Probably most of you are aware of what are the things what science have shown recently. What was his name? The scientist, Dean Radin. Dean Radin. Look at his works. I changed my mind when I lived in Tahiti in 2008, 2009. I was Tahiti, and when I discovered Dean Radin while through videos, I guess, and I ordered his book. I got book delivered, and the book, I don't remember which of his books, but he showed so many statistical and physical proofs of mind over matter effects, even tiny, but not explainable any other way than really mind over matter effect, the tiny effect. So statistically it comes just 1 over several billion against 1 over several billion, a coincidence if the data is collected through many years and many tests. So it's just impossible that mind over matter effect doesn't exist. So it changed my mind. Then I started to think more deeply, because before that point, till 2009, I was absolutely non-believing my own experiments. I tried to, it's something supernatural, natural. Everything's natural. Magic doesn't exist. Magic is just our gaps in understanding of physics, because everything is physics and mathematics in the universe. So I was just trying to find an explanation on the classical physics and mathematics and probabilities, coincidences. But after reading his book, I said, okay, there is some effect. We can affect with mind the universe. And then I started to research more and being less critical about the happenings that people told that they could affect with their wishes or survive some accidents by just improbable, impossible situations. And it happened to myself too. So read Dean Radin. He will change your mind if you're still critical about it. And watch his videos. Maybe it's easier, because he has some talks which are very informative. He's a scientist. He puts everything in place, and you can't ignore it if you're a real scientist with open mind and not stuck in your paradigm of the past. You just have to accept the reality that mind over matter effects exist. Maybe I give a couple of examples just to make you more interested, because I think everyone should read his books. And let me think about some example. For example, there have been maybe over a decade ago, probably 20 years ago already, there have been MRI machines. When they first came out, people started to test minds as well. And they took couples who've been a couple, man and woman, who've been living for years together, and they kind of felt that they are connected already. They think very much about them, the partner, and they were separated by several thousand kilometers in different universities and put under the MRI machines. And when one was flashed light randomly in the eyes, then another person had exactly the same effect on the visual cortex of the brain, much smaller but correlated. So that's one proof that mind, we are connected in the minds, especially people who think about each other. And now I recall kind of things from my own past, when I realized that I was in the army when my father died, and I felt something very, very strange that moment. I didn't eat for 3 days. At the same time, I did just an experiment. 3.5 days I didn't eat and didn't drink at all. And after the third day, 3.5 days, I had mouth so thick I couldn't even really talk. It was liquid was gone, and I lost over 10 kilos in just 3.5 days. And because of slowed metabolism, not using much food, I was able to keep breath at that moment, that time, over 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes, I think. I did holding my breath tests. I could continue training, but I had so many things going on. I couldn't concentrate any specific training on, especially on breathing, which is very important for a human, because only a few minutes, 5 minutes, our brain is dead. 6 minutes is maximum. Your brain will lose connections and will lose your memory. You will become a vegetable after 6 minutes. After all the, I don't know, diets and all the hurt efforts you make, you cut oxygen for 6 minutes. All your efforts are for nothing. So I'm not keeping any diet. I eat everything I can. But the point is that I didn't feel my father was dead already, because I was in the army. I didn't tell anyone where I was, and it took 3 days for people in through our military to find me. I wasn't in my home country, so 3.5 days later, I got information my father was dead, and I wasn't eating all these days. So it was maybe coincidence. Maybe it's just brain had some connection. And one thing, like 40 years ago, there wasn't any internet yet, and it was by telegram. And my grandmother from Chechnya, he lived in Chechnya. My grandmother was still alive, and one day I was just going out, picking up, just going to throw out the garbage, which was like 30-40 meters away there, the big containers. And when I turned back, I saw one person coming to my building, and I immediately knew, and I think I realized that's a postman. But we had the three-store apartment building, and each floor had 3 apartments, so it could be any of the 9. Could be the postman could go and for letters or whoever. But immediately when I saw the postman, I knew my grandmother is dead. I just knew it. I just went to home and got the news from my mother, and I didn't tell her. Oh, I knew already. But some strange things. Immediately my brain connected. Oh, that postman bringing news about my grandmother dead. And we weren't very much in contact. I mean, I saw her last time we visited the Chechnya, Grozny, when she was there. She was Russian, but she wasn't Chechen, but she lived in there. They had their own house there. And that's strange happening, you immediately know something, even there was no relation, no reason to suspect that, no real reason. I mean, she was old, but no real reason to suspect that exactly that postman that moment comes to bring that news. So that's another interesting thing that happened to my life, and there are definitely many more which I will recall little by little, and I will tell them. So let me see, as I today I made a list, I go over it again. So about the explanation, I told about available energy in empty space. I told that possibility, how we can affect the mind, the universe. About entanglement, I told that. About mind of universe, which you are part of, I told that as well, that you are part of the universe. Your brain is tiny part of universe. So as our brain, for example, our vision as well, if you look something, our visual cortex only works. And if you think you are a tiny part of the universe, which process, if a universe will happen to pay attention to your brain at this moment for its needs, then you can affect the universe. So many worlds interpretation. I told that the universe, quantum physics, mathematics of quantum physics shows that the universe is splitting and we live in different universes. So in the universe which your wishes, for example, to change your weather or something you want to happen, it's very possible you end up in that universe where you wish to be. And if it's unlikely statistically that you can change weather with your mind, you wish rain to stop, for example, and sun come out, then you will happen to be that universe when it's the case. So that's one possibility. Many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. So simulation hypothesis. I told as well that we live in simulation, most probably by statistical and logic and statistics, that more likely than in limited universe we live in simulation which is imperfect, and we can affect with our mind with this simulated universe. So other strange things that happened in my life, I told that, and my old tests I told, and I guess I told everything in that universe, so I don't need to keep it just longer. And why truth prevails, I told how long it's been going on. 23 minutes. No, that shows me 23 hours of space for recording. I have pretty good cards. I bought 500 gigabyte cards to my phones to record in high quality if I need to, but right now I'm recording low quality. So I have 23 hours. If I want to talk to 23 hours, I don't know if I can do that. My throat is already sore after how much. I'm not recording very much videos, so I don't know even where to look how much I've been recording now. 42 minutes. Yeah, 42 minutes. So after 42 minutes, my throat is already sore. So maybe coffee will help. It's still hot, but as the surgery was 2 weeks ago. No. How much? Yeah, almost 2 weeks ago. So I can now drink a little bit hot as well. Check out my recipes on my WordPress blogs. There is a cobalt coffee. It's with alcohol, but I stopped drinking alcohol, so I had to come out with something different. It's my original recipe, both of them. It's pretty enjoyable. I drink hot. It's even better than the cold one. So I guess I will put video on the pause because I try to save my time for learning new stuff instead of editing videos. So I try to not to cut them. I try to tell everything one go. So I don't have to spend on the post production time. Even though I learned that, for years how to film, how to set up lighting, and like now I have 2 backlights just to keep me separated from the background, and I don't have right now practical lights, but I have main lights up, which is just a normal light bulb. I don't need for this kind of video anything better than that. So the point is that I decided I still keep recording just with phones to save up my time, and for that reason I put now on the pause just in case in a couple of minutes if I have something else to add to this video to make it 1 hour maybe. But I don't have to. If I don't recall anything in a few minutes, I will end with that. And with that, I just put it on pause. Alright, I just had pause in a couple of minutes, and before my coffee will end, I will probably tell a couple of science facts from Dean Radin. Dean Radin, Radin. Check it out, Dean Radin. The things from science which changed my thinking about the mind over matter and different effects. So he explained, like, it's the experiment been going on, one of the experiments been going on well over 50 years, that can people look, can people realize if someone is looking them from their back, if they will turn around in the right moment. And this experiment, I mean, has been already going on for 50 years, because it's centuries ago people realized there is something strange going on, and at some point they started to make notes, and in universities all over the world, I mean, first maybe in Europe and after in other countries, they started to make precise tests with some rules to make it uniform. And for 50 years they've been collecting statistical information about how often people turn to someone looking from the back, if you realize someone looking in the back. But in biological, I don't see any reason why not. It isn't possible, because even though our skin is not sensitive to a light as good as our eyes are, our eyes are created from the skin and the other cells in our body, so they have some rudimentary capacity of sensing things around us. And especially martial arts, I told enough about martial arts in my other videos about my travels. So in martial arts, you realize after some time you feel things which you don't know how you feel. You just walk on the street and you react on something without realizing, only after you reacted on something. So anyone who practiced really, I mean, well practiced martial arts for decades, they do understand that something strange is going on in mind and body, which we can't explain, but your body just reacts automatically for certain situations. There are also a real explanation. For example, for me, it happened a couple of times during training when I had students, and it's not something supernatural, like when somebody's throwing ball, like basketball or something, to your back, realized you looked up before it reaches you. But it usually happens when you talk to someone, and you just see by the reaction, by the tiny reaction of a person who you talk to, even without realizing yourself, that the person saw something strange. And when you react not to the ball, but you react to the eyes of the person who you talk to, something is going on behind you. And when you are in a fight and you are against someone, you can read from the person subconsciously. You can read even your surroundings from the back. So that's one explanation without any superstition. But I've told enough about these trainings and practices. So I just had in my mind that I changed the subject. So the strange things, it wasn't from Dean Radin. This was from other sources, which I learned years ago. Like even robots are created with some certain electronics, and they randomly move around on the building, and I mean in a closed room and behind the glass wall where robots are, by randomly moving around. It was actually differently. That experiment was differently. Like the robot was programmed to find an object and to pick it up correctly, and it statistically it had certain amount of errors before it realized where the object is and how to correctly take it, and so on. And each time after each test, the program was reset to zero, and it started again. And over many errors, they knew the statistical probability, how many efforts, how many different steps it takes for a robot to pick up the object from the room. And then they put behind the glass wall a group of people. I don't remember how many, but not a single person, just a group of people, to intentionally help the robot with their mind to go exactly to that place to pick up the object. It came out that statistically the robot made many fewer mistakes and was able to go to an object and pick it up way faster than it would done by itself. So just by thinking, a group of people thinking about the robot, what it should do, the electronics reacted read the mind of people. That's strange thing happening. About Dean Radin as well, his experiments. My throat is sore already. Wow, 1 hour only talk. Anyway, the Dean Radin, he with computer tests, flashed different photos randomly. Computer choose different photos to show the pictures, and some pictures were scary, either snake or some accident or some nasty images. They had like galvanic response of skin where the electronics was attached, and the response to a skin to a scary photos was, I think you should check it out, but I think not 2 seconds, but maybe even a couple of seconds before the computer chose the strange affecting of mind image, which people would just react even if they know it's not scary, it's just a computer. The subconscious anyway reacts on your body, even if you don't react visibly. So the galvanic response of skin changes, and it changes the conductivity of electricity because of that. And the galvanic response of the skin was correlated to an upcoming photo, even before the human even before a computer had selected. So it's like seeing the future. People, subconsciously, people are seeing the future even before it happened. But I don't remember exactly the explanations of that phenomenon. Some possible explanation was that the people affected the computer to choose the photos, and the galvanic response to that was before that, because of human affecting and already knowing in advance what they would see. But they did different modifications to these experiments to eliminate all kind of to find out if it's premonitions or if it's affecting the mind. So read his works. There are many more, and these are just few of these experiments which he showed with statistical information and proofs that mind over matter and connection of people and etc. These many other things, and these things are real. These are not just our imagination about the things that happen in the world. So yeah, it's recording. I was thinking if I clicked on recording again. Yes. Anyway, so I have now 55 minutes already almost. So I don't make it any longer. Just if you're really interested to find out, to change your mind if you are skeptic, if you're really skeptic, then read the works which should be on every science, Serious Science magazine and Serious Science podcast or whatever, talked about, especially about physics, because this is all based on physics. This is the proofs. They should be known to people, but many people are still scared to lose their job because of that, because of talking about that. But the world is changing. People are getting more information, and it's coming out. Truth is coming out. And this is the reason as well as me. I was just skeptic, even after like 10 years. Today, now is 2002 already, end of 2002 almost. It's September, today is September, what is it, 16? September 16 today, and of 2002. And I came to that realization in 2009 around. And still for many years I wasn't really willing to talk about it publicly, because not everybody knew that. And if you even a couple of years ago when I was in Switzerland, I talked to friends and they just, no, don't talk to me, this is all BS, bad science, we are materialists here. So you see, it's not really easy to change the mindset of people to really believe that. And this makes my experiments so more realistic, that I don't see it anymore as just a coincidence. Because especially about affecting the weather, which tests I'm conducting now, and I published recently, just a couple of days ago, a recent test I did. And I did publicly the test. I put information out before I started to test, and I put after the results. So check my blog on WordPress. Maybe I should mention the WordPress blogs, but I will probably put the links below as well. You will get to how the easiest way probably is to get through my latest blog is donation.science.blog. I don't expect to get donations. It's if they come, it's okay. But I choose the name just because it was available, and because I'm living in Paris, in France right now, and the donation is exactly the same word in English as it is in French, exactly the spelling, and science is exactly the same spelling, and blog is exactly the same spelling. So not to have any mistakes if I tell someone the name of my blog, it's easy to remember, and they will write it down correctly if they are good at grammar. So in English and French is exactly the same. Donation.science.blog, and all the blogs you will find linked through that. And from time to time I will probably remind my other blogs as well. I haven't finished a design of a blog yet, because I just set it up a week ago, and I need to do some better design to have a better access to all the information I have there. But they are just now coming by the date they published, just listed down. So anyway, that's the information, and now it's 1 hour already, and almost, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed that, and I made good enough excuses about my own experiments, why I do such a crazy thing, in quotes, as a serious person, as I consider myself in science. And even though I'm not a trained scientist, I try to be as serious as possible to avoid any kind of crazy talk. So please take me seriously, and if I publish stuff, if I make a mistake, if I discover I made a mistake in my thinking, I will admit that in my later videos. But so far I think I'm doing the right thing. I need to talk about these things because they are real. They are just real. Just learn science, and you will make the right connections to understand what is real and what is not in our universe. Even if you live in a simulation. Anyway, have a nice time, and I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope I didn't mess up too much.